Welcome back. You learned time-bound windowing aggregates and also learned the importance of regularly cleaning your state store. Spark offers you to take care of your state store cleanup as long as you do the following. You are setting up a watermark for your time-based windows and you are using an appropriate output mode. You already learned about the watermark. In this video, I'll talk about the output mode and its implication on the state cleanup. So let's start. Spark Streaming offers you three output modes: complete, update, and append. In complete mode, every micro batch will output all the aggregates, no matter they were updated or not. We already learned it earlier. However, let me show you this with the watermark example. Here is my watermark demo example. I am changing the output mode to complete mode. Now, let me start the Zookeeper and Kafka server. Then, I'll create the topic and start the producer to send an input. Now let me start the application. What do you expect? A tumbling window and its aggregate, right? Here it is. Now let me send the next input. The input event is timed at 10:40. So it should create one more new window from 10:30 to 10:45. So we should get a new window in the output. What do we get? Two windows, right? Why? Because we used the complete mode. We got a new event for 10:30 to 10:45. So the first record is expected. However, we got the older window record even if there were no further events for the earlier window. Let me send one more record. This record will create a new window. But in the output, we will get all the three windows. Two older windows and one new window. And that's obvious because that's how the complete mode works, isn't it? However, this complete mode for windowing aggregate has a side effect on the state store cleanup. Now Spark knows that you want to see the complete output. Hence, Spark cannot clean the outdated window from the state store. I mean, we can do only one thing. Either we can give complete output or we can clean the state store. We cannot do both. Hence, even if you applied a watermark, Spark will never clean the state store because you asked for the complete output. The point is straight. Use the complete mode on time window aggregations with caution because it can stop the state store cleanup. The next one is the update mode. We already learned that the update mode is like an upsert operation. This mode will produce new aggregates. And it will also emit those aggregated results which are updated or changed. If you have applied a watermark, this mode will let Spark clean up the state store using the watermark boundary. The point is straight. Update mode is the most useful and efficient mode for streaming queries with streaming aggregates. However, you should not be using this mode with append-only syncs such as file sync. Because we already know that Spark does not support updating data files such as Parquet or JSON. Spark will always create a new file. So if you are using update mode and syncing to a file source, you will be creating duplicate records. This mode simulates an upsert operation, and it should be used with syncs that support an upsert operation such as Cassandra database. Finally, we also have an append mode. The append mode usually is not allowed on aggregate queries. Using append mode on aggregate queries will throw an analysis exception. I showed you that in the word count example, right? Now the question is this: why append mode is not allowed on aggregates? The answer is straight. Spark allows this mode when it knows that the record will not change in the future, because the append mode is designed to output a record only once. When you are computing aggregates, Spark knows that the aggregate values might change in the future due to late events, right? Hence, Spark does not allow append mode on aggregate queries. But when you aggregate on an event time and also apply a watermark, the scenario is changed. Now Spark knows that when a window goes outside the watermark, it cannot change. So Spark allows you to use the append mode if you are aggregating on event time and applying a watermark. How does it work? Let's try to understand it with the watermark example. Here is my watermark demo example. I am changing the output mode to the append mode. Let me start the Kafka server and send the first event. I have sent my first event. This event should create a new window starting from 10 to 10:15. If I used update mode, I would expect an output record, but the append mode does not produce the output. Why? This 10 AM to 10:15 window is still not expired. We might get a late event and the aggregate value for this window should be updated. So Spark will hold this aggregate in the state store until the window expires. Let me send some more records. I am sending two more events. The first event will create a 10:30 to 10:45 window, and the second event will produce a 10:15 to 10:30 window. None of the windows will show up in the output. Why? Because none of them are yet expired. Let me ask you a question. What is the max event time? 10:40, right? And what is the watermark boundary? 10:40 minus 30 minutes equal to 10:10, right? As of now, we have 3 windows in the state store. And none of them are expired yet because none of them are still outside the watermark boundary. Now let me send one more event for 10:48. This event will move the max event time to 10:48 and the new watermark will become 10:18, right? Now look at the state store. Do you have an expiring window? Yes, we have. The first window, which starts at 10:10 and ends at 10:15, is now outside the watermark and hence it expired. So Spark will send this window result to the output and clean it from the state store. Make sense? The point is straight. Append mode will suppress the output of the windowing aggregates until they cross the watermark boundary. And this is a powerful feature. Now you can use the append only syncs such as file sync, right? Because the append mode will only emit the results once it is finalized and no further updates are required. And you can sync the output to a file. Make sense? However, you also have a downside to the append mode. The result will be delayed at least by the watermark duration. But if the delay is not a concern, you can use the append mode with a file sync. If the delay is a concern, you should be using the update mode with a sync which supports an older record update. Great, that's all for this video. See you again. Keep learning and keep growing.